chosen one. Pause for a moment. Do not scroll. Do not look away. This is not coincidence. This is divine interception. Heaven has been waiting for this exact moment to whisper into your spirit. November 15th is not an ordinary date. It is a line drawn across eternity, a point in time where destinies shift, and the spiritual realm takes attendance. You feel it, don't you? The unexplainable stirring in your chest, the quickened heartbeat when someone mentions change, alignment, or awakening. That's not anxiety, it's your spirit recognizing the countdown. For months, even years, you've sensed something approaching. You've felt restless, as though heaven was calling your name, but the world's noise tried to drown it out. You thought the battles you faced were punishment, but they were preparation. You weren't being buried, you were being planted. November 15th is the sprouting moment. It is the day when what has been hidden beneath the soil begins to break through. You have walked through seasons where doors slammed without reason, where people turned cold without warning, where prayers seemed unanswered. But listen, chosen one, those weren't random moments. Heaven was moving chess pieces while you were questioning the board. The delay was divine. The silence was strategy. The confusion was cover, while God prepared you for unveiling. November 15th is that unveiling. You are not called to blend in. You are called to stand out. The light inside you was designed to expose darkness, not entertain it. Every attack against your peace was proof that darkness feared your potential. Every sleepless night was a sign that hell knew what heaven was about to release through you. You carry something rare, something the enemy cannot replicate. And so, heaven calls you now. Prepare. This isn't the time to procrastinate or doubt your worth. This is the moment to cleanse your heart, refocus your vision, and realign with divine order. November 15th is a prophetic checkpoint. Those who are spiritually awake will sense the atmosphere shift. Those asleep will miss it completely. You may ask, what will happen? But the truth is deeper than visible events. On that day, spiritual records are updated. The faithful are marked. The watchers are promoted. The hesitant are passed over. Every act of obedience, every step of surrender, every moment of hidden faith, it will all converge into one divine moment of recognition. Heaven is preparing to call your name. Chosen one. This is your confirmation. The very fact that you are reading these words now is evidence that heaven sees you. You are not lost in the noise of the billions. You are seen. You are known. You are chosen. You are being called to awaken before the date arrives, to position yourself in obedience and prayer, because heaven's timing waits for no one. Let this be your sign. The same God who stirred the prophets to speak is stirring you now. Do not ignore the feeling. Do not silence the conviction. November 15th is not a date for fear, it is a date for focus. Heaven has ordained a moment of recognition, and your preparation determines your portion. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 44, so you also must be ready, for the Son of Man will come at an hour you do not expect him. This is not a scare, it's an invitation. A loving reminder that the prophetic clock keeps ticking whether you notice or not. Heaven is merciful enough to warn before it moves. You have been warned in love. You are being drawn in grace. And right now, heaven is bending close, whispering your name, through these very words. You might not hear a thunderclap or see a flash of light, but deep within, something begins to awaken. That subtle burning in your chest is not emotion, it is recognition. The divine part of you remembers who you are and why you were sent here. You were never meant to drift through time unnoticed. You were crafted to stand at the crossroads of history and revelation, a living proof of heaven's intention on earth. So breathe in. Chosen one, breathe in the stillness that follows revelation. Feel the weight of glory settling over you like a mantle, reminding you that even when the world turns away, heaven never has. The next days are not random, they are preparation for encounter. Take them seriously. Guard your peace, purify your thoughts, and anchor your hope in the one who never fails. When November 15th dawns, let heaven find you awake, not wondering. Before you leave this space, if these words confirm something deep within you, like to share and subscribe, so this message can reach every sleeping warrior who needs to hear heaven's voice. And as an act of prophetic agreement, comment Sheva me'ot shebaim v'sheva below. It is your sign that you are aligning with the heavenly countdown. The whisper has already begun. Chosen one. It started long before you realized its small moments. Strange timings. Coincidences that weren't coincidences at all. Heaven has been speaking softly, testing your sensitivity to the unseen. You have felt it in the restless quiet of your nights, in the chill that runs through your spirit when you sense a divine shift. The world calls it intuition, but heaven calls it awareness. There are seasons when God thunders from the mountaintop, and there are seasons when he whispers in the wind. This, right now, is the whisper before the storm, the gentle voice before divine disruption. The Father does not shout to compete with the noise of the world. He speaks softly so that only the attentive can hear. That is why you have felt disconnected lately. He has been silencing the chaos around you to make sure his voice is the only one that reaches your heart. Do you remember those moments when your plans crumbled without explanation? The people who left, the jobs that vanished, the doors that refused to open. Those weren't punishments. They were divine redirections. Subtle signs preparing you for the date that draws near November 15th. Heaven always whispers before it moves. Before any major shift in scripture, there was always a stillness. A divine pause. Noah felt it before the rain. Daniel before the revelation. Mary before the angel appeared. That same silence has fallen over you now. Chosen one. Heaven does not warn without purpose. When the Spirit begins to stir, when you sense a holy tension, it's a sign that something is about to be revealed. November 15th is not random. It's the manifestation of everything the whispers have been pointing toward. You were not supposed to understand it all yet. You were supposed to feel it first, because spiritual things are felt long before they are seen. In these final days before the unveiling, pay attention to the patterns, the numbers that repeat, the dreams that linger, the verses that echo in your spirit without reason. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. The same way God spoke through burning bushes, stones, and stars, he still speaks through repetition and resonance. Heaven is aligning details around you to make sure you cannot miss this call. Many will ignore the whisper because they are waiting for thunder. They expect fireworks and angelic appearances. But you, God's chosen, have been trained in stillness. You've learned to recognize the divine in simplicity, That is your advantage. That is why heaven trusts you with what others overlook. When others dismiss the inner pull, you listen. When others mock the message, you move. That obedience will set you apart when the prophetic date arrives. There's something sacred about quiet obedience. Heaven values it. The loudest praise is not always the one shouted from the rooftops. It's the silent yes whispered in a surrendered heart. That's the sound that shakes the spiritual realm. And you, chosen one, have been saying yes even when it hurt. You said yes through confusion, through loneliness, through rejection. Heaven has heard it all. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 33, verse 3. Call to me, and I will answer you, and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. That's what this season is about, receiving revelation that others cannot see. The whispers you hear are invitations to mysteries. They are not warnings of doom, but doors to deeper relationship. God is not hiding from you. He is drawing you closer. He whispers so that you'll lean in, so that intimacy replaces fear. As November 15th approaches, don't chase signs, become one. Let your peace, your faith, and your obedience be proof that you've heard the whisper. Be still when others panic. Be kind when others curse. Stay alert when others sleep, because the same voice that whispers now will thunder soon. And when it does, the world will remember the ones who listened before the noise began. Chosen one, you are being entrusted with sensitivity. And that sensitivity is not weakness, it is weaponry. Heaven's strategies are whispered to those who keep their hearts soft. Keep yours pure, undistracted, and ready. The whisper before the storm is your warning, your invitation, and your honor. You were warned in the silence. Chosen one, every unanswered prayer, every delay that stretched you to the breaking point, those were not punishments. They were heaven's warnings wrapped in mercy. You mistook them for abandonment, but they were invitations to pause, to listen, to realign. God has been protecting you from things you didn't even know were coming. While you were asking for acceleration, heaven was applying brakes so you wouldn't crash. Do you remember the times when everything seemed to stop at once? When your strength failed, your circle shrank, and your plans collapsed like sandcastles under waves? Those were divine interventions. Every roadblock was a spiritual barricade keeping you from destruction. You thought you were being delayed, but in truth, you were being delivered. The silence was heaven shouting, "Wait, not yet. I'm not done preparing you." Heaven often speaks loudest through what doesn't happen. You prayed, but doors didn't open. You asked, but answers didn't come. You waited, but nothing moved. In that stillness, your spirit was learning the rhythm of divine timing. Every withheld blessing taught you obedience. Every unanswered question deepened your dependence. The silence, though painful, purified your perception. Now, as November 15th approaches, you begin to understand why God held you back. You were being preserved for purpose. Chosen one. Some of the no's in your life were heaven's most merciful. Yes, God saw the path ahead, the hidden traps, the counterfeit opportunities. If he had granted your request too soon, the blessing would have become a burden. So he closed doors not to punish, but to protect. You didn't lose time. You were being aligned. as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 15, "In repentance and rest is your salvation. In quietness and trust is your strength." That verse carries your revelation. The stillness wasn't absence, it was strength. Heaven was teaching you that the greatest victories are birthed not in noise, but in surrender. When the world rushes, the chosen pause. When others panic, you pray. That difference is what will separate you on November 15th. Those who respond to silence with trust will walk in revelation. Those who respond with complaint will miss their moment. Every delay has a purpose, and every silence has a voice. God hides himself not to be distant, but to be discovered. In those quiet nights when you felt forgotten, the Spirit was searching your heart, refining your motives, teaching you patience for prophetic timing. You were being trained in holy restraint, a skill that few carry. There's something sacred about being slowed down by heaven. It feels painful in the moment, but later you realize the divine choreography behind every pause. If God had let you move too soon, the storm would have swallowed you. But now, you've grown roots deep enough to endure what's coming. November 15th will not uproot you, it will reveal you. This is why the stillness was necessary. God was tuning your spirit to recognize his frequency. Now you can discern the difference between a divine delay and a demonic distraction. You can sense when heaven is saying, "Wait," and when the enemy is saying, "Quit." That's maturity. That's why the silence was sacred. Chosen one, take a deep breath. Everything that felt wasted is about to make sense. You haven't missed your season, you've been matured for it. The same silence that broke your heart is about to birth your breakthrough. Heaven will soon speak loudly. And when it does, those who mocked your patience will marvel at your peace. The Spirit is whispering even now, "Don't move without me. Don't rush what I'm refining. Don't force open what I've closed." Those who rush ahead of divine timing always crash into regret. But those who rest in obedience walk straight into revelation. Now, as an act of prophetic faith, comment, "I hear you." Ends. This is not just a phrase, it's your declaration that you have learned to listen even when God is silent. It's how you tell heaven, "I understand now you were never ignoring me. You were preparing me." Every letter you type is agreement with divine timing. A seal that you will not miss your moment when November 15th arrives. And when you write those words, feel the shift in your spirit. Something ancient awakens inside you, the quiet certainty that you are seen, heard, and chosen. The silence no longer feels empty, it feels holy. Because now you understand, every unanswered moment was a sacred rehearsal for the revelation that is about to unfold. The day is approaching. Chosen one. The day heaven takes attendance. November 15th will not be marked by chaos or fire in the sky, but by something far more powerful. Divine recognition. The unseen realm will take note of those who remained faithful, those who endured the silence and stayed the course, even when no one was watching. You are one of them. Every act of obedience has been recorded. Every tear has been counted. Every hidden prayer has been heard. Heaven operates on principles, not popularity. While the world measures worth by visibility, heaven measures it by faithfulness. There are names that echo on earth, but are silent in heaven, and there are names whispered in heaven that the earth has never heard. Yours, chosen one, is one of those whispered names. November 15th will be the moment when heaven's whisper turns into declaration. You may not see angels with your physical eyes, but in the spiritual realm, movement is already underway. The recording angels prepare their scrolls. The watchers gather at the edges of eternity. The Lamb who opens the seals is watching to see who stands unwavering. It's not about perfection, it's about posture. Heaven is not looking for the flawless, but for the faithful. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 16, "Then those who feared the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll of remembrance was written in his presence concerning those who feared the Lord and honored his name." That verse is your assurance. Heaven remembers. Nothing you've done in secret for the sake of righteousness has gone unnoticed. The world might overlook your kindness, but heaven has it on record. Every time you forgave instead of retaliating, every time you prayed for those who wronged you, every time you stayed pure when compromise was easier, those moments became ink in the scroll of remembrance. When November 15th arrives, the divine books will not be opened to shame you, but to reward you. Heaven will take attendance, not to expose faults, but to acknowledge endurance. The Father's eyes will search for those who did not bend to pressure, those who carried light when the atmosphere darkened. You will be counted among them. But understand this, heaven's attendance is not about where you are physically, it's about where you stand spiritually. You can be surrounded by crowds and still be absent in heaven's eyes if your heart is distant, or you can be hidden, unseen by men, and yet radiant in the sight of angels. Heaven takes attendance based on alignment, not applause. This is why you've been refined through solitude. God isolated you to ensure that your loyalty would not depend on company. You were trained to worship without witnesses, to serve without recognition, to stay steadfast without validation. Those who only serve when seen will be absent when heaven calls the roll. But you, because you served quietly, will be seen loudly in heaven. The separation is already happening. The lukewarm are growing cold. The distracted are drifting further. And the faithful are growing sharper in discernment. You can feel it, the invisible dividing line. The air feels heavier, the days shorter, the urgency stronger. Heaven is scanning hearts, not faces. So, chosen one, hold your position. You don't need to chase favor, you need to maintain faith. When the King calls names on November 15th, yours will be written among the steadfast. That moment will not just mark who you are, it will mark whose you are. Heaven will not only record your faith, it will release favor because of it. Let that awareness guide you in these days leading up to the prophetic date. Walk with reverence. Speak with wisdom. Act with integrity. Every small decision echoes in eternity. When you forgive, heaven nods. When you resist temptation, angels record. When you speak truth despite fear, light expands in realms unseen. Remember, this is not about fear, but about faithfulness. The call to readiness is not a threat, it's an invitation to glory. You were not chosen to hide from judgment, you were chosen to shine during it. Heaven's attendance is not the test, it's the acknowledgement that you passed it. When the roll is called in heaven's silence, your name will not tremble. It will resound like a bell, clear and unwavering, and the Father will whisper, "This one remained faithful." The time of separation is upon you. Chosen one, the moment when light and shadow part ways. November 15th is not just a date, it is a mirror held up to every heart. On that day, what is true will shine, and what is false will fade. Heaven does not divide by appearance or reputation, but by essence. This is the season when authenticity becomes currency in the spirit. You have felt it already, the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. One part of you clings to the familiar, while another part yearns for the sacred. That's not confusion, it's transformation. The fire that burns within you now is not meant to destroy, but to refine. You are being separated from the noise, from imitation, from everything that dilutes your divine identity. Imagine gold in the furnace. It glows under heat, the impurities rising to the surface so they can be removed. That's you, chosen one. Heaven has turned up the temperature, not to harm you, but to reveal what's pure. You've been asking God to bless you, but blessing cannot rest where falsehood hides. The fire exposes, the pressure purifies, and November 15th will reveal what has been truly refined. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9. This third I will put into the fire. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, they are my people, and they will say, the Lord is our God. That verse is your reflection. You are the remnant being refined. The tests, the tears, the lonely nights, they are all evidence that heaven is still working on you. God only refines what he intends to keep. Those who were never meant to carry glory are left untouched. But you have been chosen for transformation. This separation between light and shadow isn't about judging others, it's about protecting your anointing. There are relationships, habits, and distractions that cannot cross into your next season, like a tree shedding its leaves before winter. You must release what can't survive the change. Leaves don't argue with the wind, they let go gracefully. So must you. You may feel the sting of distance as heaven prunes your path. Some people will fade away quietly. Opportunities will close, and routines will shift. Don't resist the pruning, it's proof of growth. When the gardener trims a branch, he isn't destroying it, he's ensuring it bears more fruit. This process may feel like loss, but it's sacred preparation for elevation. Chosen one, the closer you move toward your purpose, the narrower the path becomes. It's not rejection, it's refinement. You cannot carry excess into destiny. The weight of old burdens will not fit through heaven's narrow door. Release them now, willingly, before November 15th forces the separation. Think of a candle. It shines brightest only when the wick is trimmed. Without trimming, the flame flickers, the smoke thickens, and the light dims. You are that candle, and God's hand has been trimming your excess, shaping your soul for steadiness. This is how light overcomes shadow, not through effort, but through surrender. You don't need to prove your light, you just need to keep it pure. And sometimes purity means silence, solitude, and stillness. These are not punishments, they are the polishing of the soul. The world rushes to be seen, but heaven refines those who are willing to be hidden until the right moment. Your time is coming. The unveiling is near. When the day comes, your light will not need to shout. It will simply shine, and darkness will retreat. You will walk into rooms and atmospheres will shift. You will speak, and hearts will tremble. not because of your voice, but because of the presence that rests upon you. That is the result of refinement, the glory that flows through the purified, chosen one. If these words reach something deep within you, take a moment to share this light forward. Someone in your circle might be standing in their own furnace, wondering if they are being punished, when in truth, they are being prepared. When you like, share, and subscribe, it's more than engagement, it's alignment. It's passing the torch so another soul doesn't give up in the fire. Let your act of sharing be a prophetic gesture, a reflection of the divine ripple effect. Just as one flame lights another without losing its own glow, your small action might reignite a weary heart tonight. The separation of light and shadow is not meant to isolate you, it's meant to illuminate you. The refining is not rejection, it's recognition. When November 15th arrives, heaven will not ask what you built, but what you became, and you, chosen one, will stand radiant, not because you were spared the fire, but because you endured it and came out shining. The prophetic number awakens. Chosen one. You've seen it flicker across clocks, receipts, signs appearing again and again until you can no longer dismiss it as coincidence. That number, 888, is not random. It is a whisper from eternity, a code written in heaven's language, reminding you of new beginnings, resurrection, and divine alignment. As November 15 draws closer. This number is heaven's way of saying, the old cycle has ended, prepare for the new. And there is a rhythm to heaven, and you are beginning to feel it. The same way the ocean moves in tides, your spirit is sensing a shift from waiting to walking, from endurance to emergence. The season of breaking is closing. The season of birthing is here. Heaven's number has come to confirm that what was dead in you is about to live again. You've carried visions that seemed to die before they could breathe. You've held on to promises that felt buried under disappointment. But resurrection always requires a tomb first. The number 888 echoes resurrection, power, the sign that what was once sealed away is about to rise with purpose. Every dream that went silent, every hope that seemed buried, watch how heaven breathes life into it again. According to what is revealed in the book of John, chapter 11, verse 25, Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. Think of a seed buried in darkness. To the eye, it seems lost beneath the soil, but in reality, it is breaking open to release what it carries. You have been that seed, buried by circumstances, yet destined to sprout. November 15th is not the end, it's the awakening. Heaven's number is the countdown to your re-emergence. Every storm that tried to drown you only watered your soil. Every delay that frustrated you actually protected your roots. The pain you felt was proof that growth was happening beneath the surface. And now, heaven is sending a signal to your spirit, rise. There is divine order in every repetition of 888 you encounter. It's as if heaven is signing its initials at the end of your trials, saying, approved, completed, ready. The number is confirmation that your suffering was not wasted, it was investment. Every tear you sowed has become a river of restoration. Every loss you endured has created space for expansion. Chosen one. The number 888 is also the call to alignment. Heaven is resetting your steps so that nothing in your life remains out of place. Relationships, finances, emotions, and faith, everything will begin to shift into divine synchronization. The imbalance that once drained you will be replaced by clarity. The confusion that once paralyzed you will dissolve as purpose takes shape. Be attentive in these final days, before November 15th. Pay attention to what the Spirit highlights. When you see the number again on a clock, a page, or a thought, don't ignore it. Whisper a simple prayer, I align. Lord, I receive the new beginning you are preparing. Heaven hears even the quietest agreements. You may have thought your time had passed, that opportunities expired, and doors sealed shut. But resurrection doesn't check the clock, it simply responds to the command of heaven. The same voice that called Lazarus from the tomb is calling your destiny from delay. The prophetic number 888 is heaven's resounding, come forth. This is not superstition, it's revelation. Numbers in Scripture often carried meaning beyond mathematics. They were markers of divine activity. When you see this number, you're not just witnessing a pattern, you're witnessing God's fingerprint. It's His way of reminding you that even time itself must bow to His plan. Chosen one, the season of endings is over. The ashes of your past will soon give way to new fire. November 15th will not bring loss, it will announce renewal. The things that once broke you will now build you. You will not return to what was, you will rise into what's next. As you read this, if your heart leaps or tears form in your eyes, that's not emotion, it's recognition. Your spirit knows truth when it hears it. You've been waiting for confirmation. Heaven just gave it. So as a prophetic act of faith, comment Shmuna me'ot, shmunim veshmuna below. This is more than a number, it's your agreement with heaven's rhythm. When you type it, you're declaring, I receive new beginnings. I align with divine timing. Irise. Your comment becomes a prophetic seed. Your visible yes to the invisible move of God. Heaven is watching for those who respond in faith. Be counted among them. The number has been given. The call has been released now. Chosen one, rise into your new beginning. There is a weight that falls upon the soul when obedience is delayed. Chosen one. It begins as a whisper of hesitation, one that says, maybe later, maybe tomorrow, but heaven does not move on. Maybe. The spiritual world responds to movement, to faith, to decisivi, surrender. Each time you postpone your yes, the distance between you and your purpose grows heavier. The longer obedience is delayed, the key to destiny becomes, you have felt this weight before, the lingering exhaustion that no sleep can fix. The subtle dullness that creeps into your spirit when you know you've heard God's direction but haven't yet acted on it. That heaviness is not punishment, it is spiritual gravity. Heaven pulls on those who belong to it. The more you resist, the stronger the pull. God's voice never fades because He gives up. It fades because your hesitation clouds the signal. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Though it wears a gentler face, it convinces you that you're safe because you intend to obey, eventually. But destiny has expiration dates for opportunity. When heaven says move, hesitation costs more than disobedience because it acknowledges truth but denies timing. The enemy does not need to turn you against God. He only needs to convince you to wait. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 95, verse 7 and 8. Today, if you hear his voice. Do not harden your hearts. That word today carries urgency. It means now. Heaven always speaks in present tense. The promises you long for are waiting for a present response, not a future plan. God's instructions are not random, they are perfectly timed interventions. When you delay, you step out of sync with the rhythm of grace. Think of obedience as a divine current. When you step into it, you move effortlessly with heaven's flow. But when you hesitate, you create resistance. Your spirit begins to tire, and what once felt light becomes labor. That's why some seasons felt harder than they should have. It wasn't because heaven withdrew, it was because you were standing still in a moving river. Obedience is often inconvenient, yet it is never without reward. Many of the greatest breakthroughs were born from immediate surrender. Abraham didn't debate when told to leave his homeland. Peter dropped his nets without a second thought. The widow poured her last oil without hesitation, and each one witnessed miracles that delayed hearts never see. You've asked heaven for confirmation, but heaven has already spoken. The stillness around you isn't because God has stopped talking, it's because he's waiting for you to act on what you've already been told. Sometimes silence is not absence, it's expectation. Chosen one, there is a difference between discernment and delay. Discernment listens for timing. Delay hides behind fear. Many believers confuse the two. You've been told to move, to speak, to forgive, to step out. But fear disguised as caution whispered, "Not yet." Meanwhile, time slipped quietly away. Heaven moves through windows, not walls. Those who hesitate often find the window closed when they finally reach for it. Do not mistake God's patience for permission. Grace waits, but it does not wait forever. Mercy lingers, but it will not drag the unwilling. Every act of disobedience begins with a pause, a single moment of indecision where the Spirit says, "Go." But the flesh says, "Wait." And in that pause, battles are lost or won. The good news is this: it is not too late. If you are reading these words, heaven still sees you as redeemable, still considers your obedience valuable. God is not angry at your hesitation. He is inviting you to begin again. Every step of surrender you take now can realign everything that delay distorted. The door is not closed. It is simply waiting for your hand. You might feel that you've lost too much time, that opportunities have expired, that you've missed your moment. But time submits to the one who made it. Obedience, even when late, can still produce redemption. Heaven can restore what hesitation stole, but only if you move now. Don't wait for a louder sign or clearer voice. You've already heard enough. The peace that follows obedience will always outweigh the comfort of waiting. When you act, the heaviness will lift, and clarity will return. You will find that heaven's favor was never gone. It was simply waiting for you to step into alignment. Chosen one. November 15th is not a threat, it is an appointment. A moment where those who moved, when called, will step into what was promised. Heaven's books are open. The ink is wet with possibility. Don't let hesitation write your absence in those pages. Move while mercy still moves with you. Midnight is not just a time on the clock. Chosen one, it is a realm. A crossing between two worlds. It is the hour when day and night exchange their power, when light is tested and darkness tries its final move before dawn. November 15th will pass through such a midnight, and heaven is calling you to be awake when it happens, not with open eyes only, but with an awakened spirit. Midnight is sacred because it reveals truth. When all is still, the masks fall. The noise that distracts fades away, and only what's real remains. It's in the midnight hours that heaven whispers most clearly, because the world finally quiets enough to listen. You have been invited into that stillness, not as a bystander, but as a watchman on the wall. The Spirit trusts you to stay alert while others sleep. In Scripture, midnight is often the hinge of deliverance. It was at midnight that Paul and Silas sang in chains and the prison doors burst open. It was at midnight that the cry rang out, "Behold, the bridegroom comes," and only the prepared were ready. It was at midnight that the angel of death passed through Egypt, and those under the blood were spared. Every time the clock strikes 12 in heaven's story, something shifts. Chains break. Destinies turn. Covenants are sealed. You, chosen one, have felt the pull of midnight in your own soul. The sleepless nights that have haunted you were not insomnia, they were invitations. While others dream, you've been stirred to pray. You may have felt isolated, but you were being positioned. Heaven often moves in silence first, before the dawn announces what has changed. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 29. At midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on the throne to the firstborn of the prisoner who was in the dungeon. This verse reminds you that midnight is not passive, it's decisive. It's when God intervenes to end one chapter and begin another. The same midnight that brings judgment to one brings deliverance to another. The difference lies in obedience. Those who had blood on their doors slept safely under divine protection. Those who ignored the call faced devastation. November 15th is that kind of spiritual midnight. You might not see lightning or hear thunder, but in the unseen realm, doors will close and others will open. Some will awaken renewed, others unchanged. Midnight separates the alert from the unaware. That's why heaven is urging you to stay awake, not in fear, but in readiness. Midnight is also the hour when faith is proven. It's easy to believe when the sun shines, when prayers are answered, and when signs are visible, but true faith is forged in the dark. When you pray without evidence, when you worship without comfort, when you hold on to promises that feel distant, that is when heaven takes notice. Your midnight praise carries the power of deliverance because it's born from trust, not convenience. Chosen one, you may be standing in your own personal midnight right now. Circumstances feel uncertain. The path ahead looks dim. You've tried everything, yet breakthrough remains hidden. But remember, midnight is not the end of the day. It is the start of a new one. The darkness you see is not defeat, it's transition. You are not dying, you are crossing. Heaven is closest in these hours. Angels move unseen when the earth sleeps. Your whispered prayers at 3 a.m. are not lost in the void. They echo through eternity. The same God who heard Paul and Silas still listens in the quiet of your night. Your tears are keys unlocking unseen doors. So when November 15th arrives, and the clock stands between two worlds, let your spirit be awake. Let your thoughts be clear, your heart be clean, and your ears open. Don't rush through that midnight moment. Sit in the stillness, breathe deeply, and feel the shift in the air. You might sense a peace that surpasses understanding, or a stirring that feels like fire in your bones. Either way, heaven will be near. Midnight is not something to fear, it is something to discern. It's the womb of dawn, the last breath of night before the light breaks. Every prophecy, every word you've carried will begin to quicken in that silence. For those who watch faithfully, the first rays of divine confirmation will soon follow. The world will sleep through that hour. But you, chosen one, will stand between heaven and earth awake, aware and ready, because you understand now, midnight is not a moment to survive, it's a passage to your next glory. The wind of heaven is stirring. Chosen one, can you feel it? That gentle yet unshakable presence that brushes against your spirit when the world grows quiet. It's not imagination, it's visitation. Heaven is moving toward those who are alert, humble, and hungry for truth. As November 15th approaches, a holy wind is beginning to sweep across hearts, separating what is weightless from what is eternal. This wind is unlike any other. It doesn't blow through trees or rattle windows. It passes through souls. It refines the atmosphere around you, pushing out confusion and ushering in clarity. The holy wind doesn't roar for attention, it whispers for intimacy. It's the breath that revives dry bones, the invisible force that turns weeping into worship. You might not see it, but you will feel its evidence. A sudden peace, a trembling in prayer. Ate, you can't explain. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Ezekiel. Chapter 37. Verse 9. Prophesy to the breath, prophesy, Son of man, and say to it, Come, breath, from the four winds, and breathe into these slain. And Evan, this is what heaven is doing now. It is breathing into the weary, reviving the chosen, awakening what was forgotten. The same breath that brought life into Adam, that raised Ezekiel's valley of dry bones, is moving again across this generation. You are not just witnessing it, you are part of it. The holy wind is calling your name. It will not come to every heart, only to those who are ready. Those who have grown numb from religion will not feel it. Those who rely on comfort will miss it. But those who have stayed open, even in pain, will sense it as a tender force moving through them. This is how heaven identifies the remnant, the ones who still respond to the gentle touch of Spirit. Sometimes, the holy wind arrives as conviction. It presses on your conscience, reminding you of what must be released. Other times, it brings healing, flowing through the cracks of old wounds you thought were permanent. Its movement is unpredictable, but always purposeful. When it comes, do not resist it. The wind doesn't destroy, it delivers. The presence of the holy wind may disrupt your routine. You might find yourself drawn to silence, hungry for solitude, or unexpectedly emotional in worship. Don't suppress it. Let it flow. These are not random moods, they're signs of divine interaction. The Spirit is calibrating you, aligning your heart with heaven's pulse. Chosen one, when this wind moves, stay still enough to feel it. The world is busy chasing noise, but heaven's movements are felt in stillness. Those who wait will sense what others miss. That's why November 15th is not about events, it's about awareness. Heaven's breath will pass by every soul, but only the awakened will inhale it. This visitation will carry messages, answers you've long prayed for, instructions you didn't know you needed, peace you didn't know you lacked. But you must be sensitive. Don't overthink it. The Spirit speaks in simplicity. Sometimes the message will come as a word in your heart. Sometimes as a sudden knowing. Sometimes as the feeling of warmth that floods your chest when truth is near. That's heaven's confirmation. And yet, there's a mystery to the holy wind. It tests your surrender. You can't control it or predict it. You can only yield to it. Those who try to manage it lose it. Those who let go are carried by it. You've been taught to fight storms. But this wind isn't one to resist. It's not here to scatter. It's here to set direction. You'll notice that as you yield, peace will follow. Burdens will lift. Clarity will return. And the fog that once clouded your path will dissolve. The holy wind doesn't just refresh, it redirects. It blows away distractions, exposes counterfeits, and guides your steps toward divine appointments. When it passes, you will know, the same way the disciples recognized Jesus when he broke bread. You'll recognize the Spirit when he breaks your silence. Your soul will exhale what it's carried too long. The weight of confusion will fall off like dust in a gust of grace. Chosen one. When you sense that presence, don't rationalize it. Don't analyze it. Simply receive it. Let it move through you until peace replaces pressure and presence replaces pain. And when it happens, comment, I receive. No, do it not for the sake of routine, but as a prophetic acknowledgement that you recognize the wind when it touches you. Those two words are not empty. They are a declaration that you choose sensitivity over cynicism, openness over pride, surrender over struggle. They mean, I yield to the breath of God, let it fill me again. No. So when you type those words, imagine the wind surrounding you, carrying your obedience straight into the heart of heaven. The visitation is already near. Don't just witness it, breathe it in. Heaven's recording angel writes, Chosen one, every whisper of obedience, every hidden act of kindness, every silent battle won in the dark, it's all being written down. Nothing is forgotten in the courts of heaven. There are no lost moments for those who walk in the light. What you thought was unseen has been carefully documented in eternity's script. The angel doesn't write with ink, but with fire. Each word glows like starlight on the scroll of remembrance. When you forgave when it hurt, a line was written. When you prayed even while doubting, another mark appeared. When you stayed faithful while others walked away, the angel smiled and wrote again. The pages of your life are not filled with your failures, chosen one. They are filled with your endurance. Heaven values what the world overlooks. It is not impressed by titles or fame. It is moved by sincerity. A whispered yes in the dark shakes more in heaven than 1,000 loud declarations before men. The recording angel is not interested in your performance. He writes your posture, your willingness to stand firm when no one applauds. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest, if we do not give up. That verse is not a metaphor, it's a record in motion. Every act of perseverance plants a seed in eternity. The angel writes because harvest is guaranteed. The ink of your endurance will soon turn into the fruit of reward. Think of your life as a garden under heaven's gaze. Some seeds sprout quickly, moments of answered prayer and visible blessing, but others remain buried for years. hidden in the soil of faithfulness. You think they've died, but heaven knows the timing of every bloom. November 15th is when the gardener begins to walk through the garden again, checking the growth, marking what's ready to blossom. Your name is among those written on his list. You've been faithful in unseen corners. You've sown in tears, while others celebrated in comfort. You've chosen integrity when compromise would have been easier. That's why heaven takes such careful notes. The scrolls are not filled with your pain alone. They are filled with purpose. What felt like delay was documentation. Every sigh of surrender became a sentence in heaven's story about you. There's beauty in this truth. God is not only watching, He's archiving. Your days are not wasted. They are recorded. And one day, the same pages that hold your obedience will open as your testimony. Heaven does not forget faithfulness, no matter how small. Chosen one. Imagine your story as a song. Every decision, every act of kindness, every prayer whispered when your heart was breaking, it all adds a note. The melody may have sounded lonely in some seasons, but heaven hears it as harmony. The angels write your lyrics while the Spirit composes your score. What you've lived through is not random. It's divine music in motion. One day soon, those who doubted you will hear the full song. The parts that once sounded like sorrow will resolve into beauty. The pauses, the rests, the silences, all of it will make sense. The composer wastes no note. And as that song rises, heaven invites others to hear it too. When you like, share, or subscribe, you're not just engaging, you're amplifying a melody from heaven. You're helping this sound reach another soul sitting in silence, wondering if their obedience matters. You're helping someone remember that God still keeps records, that no sacrifice is wasted. Think of it like passing on a candle flame. The moment you share the light, it multiplies without losing its warmth. Someone else's midnight may brighten because you chose to carry the glow forward. Every share is a ripple in the river of remembrance. Every like is a stone of agreement dropped into eternity's current. When you do, don't do it out of habit. Do it out of heart. Let your gesture say, I believe that what is written in heaven deserves to be heard on earth. You are not promoting words, you are spreading witness. The scrolls are almost complete. The ink nearly dry. November 15th approaches like dawn, and heaven is preparing to seal what's been written. Make sure the final pages reflect not hesitation, but hope. Keep doing good. Keep choosing faith. Keep walking in light. Even when the world sleeps, the angel still writes, and your name glows brighter with every act of endurance. The final warning of mercy draws near. Chosen one. There are moments in the story of humankind when heaven leans close, when the Father stretches out his hand one last time before judgment shifts into silence. We are standing in such a moment now. November 15th is not only a date of awakening, it is also a threshold where mercy pauses and waits to see who will respond. Mercy is not weakness, it is power restrained by love. It is the hand that reaches down to lift before justice descends to weigh. For generations, heaven has been patient with this world's rebellion, giving chance after chance for hearts to return. But patience, though divine, is not endless. Every wave of grace has a shoreline, and the tide is drawing in. You felt it, the tightening in the atmosphere, the subtle urgency in your spirit. It's as if the earth itself knows that time is bending toward a reckoning. That unease is not fear, It is spiritual awareness. Mercy is beginning to step back, allowing consequence to enter the stage. Heaven is asking, who will remain faithful when the gentle hand no longer restrains the storm? As was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 1, whoever remains stiff-necked after many rebukes will suddenly be destroyed without remedy. Those are sobering words. Yet they come not to condemn, but to awaken. Heaven never warns without love. The verse is not a threat, it is a lifeline. It calls the chosen to humility, to repentance, to remembrance of grace before the door closes. You, chosen one, have been given understanding so that you may act while mercy still lingers. Mercy is not a blanket that covers rebellion without change. It is a bridge that allows transformation. The danger comes when hearts grow numb to that kindness, mistaking leniency for approval. The enemy whispers, "You have time," but heaven whispers, "You have now." The difference between the two voices is the difference between life and loss. Think of a lamp flickering at the end of its oil. The flame dances wildly, beautiful but fragile, warning that supply is almost gone. That's what mercy looks like now, a trembling light in the world's darkness, still glowing, still offering direction, but waiting for the wise to refill their vessels. The wise do not panic when the oil runs low. They prepare. They tend their lamps. They stay awake. They guard their hearts. The foolish wait until the flame dies, and then cry out for what cannot be borrowed. Heaven is calling you to be among the wise, to prepare while there is still time, to walk in repentance, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Mercy, when received rightly, becomes transformation. It softens hearts, renews minds, and rekindles faith. But mercy resisted becomes a witness against the hardened. The same sun that melts wax hardens clay. The difference lies in what the heart is made of. Chosen one, your journey so far has not been easy, but every trial has been proof that mercy still surrounds you. Each failure met with forgiveness. Each wound that healed, instead of festering those, were all traces of mercy. You are not reading these words by accident. Even this moment is mercy extending itself once more. Yet mercy must someday yield to justice. Heaven cannot allow corruption to reign forever. There is a divine balance to all things, a moment when what has been tolerated must be addressed. The longer grace is ignored, the louder consequence must speak. That's why this warning matters. It's not to instill fear, it's to inspire readiness. On November 15th, the scales of mercy and judgment will tip again. Not in visible fire or catastrophe, but in unseen shifts. Hearts that once felt conviction may suddenly grow cold. Those who mocked truth may no longer perceive it. Spiritual blindness increases when light is rejected repeatedly. The greatest loss is not external, it is the fading of sensitivity to heaven's call. So while mercy still reaches, reach back. Speak forgiveness over your past. Release bitterness and renew your faith. The Father's hand is still extended, steady and strong, waiting for yours. The moment you take hold, everything changes. The storm loses its claim, and peace takes its place. This is the final warning of mercy, but also its final invitation. Heaven has not given up on you. You are still within the reach of grace. The key is humility. The willingness to bow before pride seals your fate. When the night of November 15th falls, let heaven find you under the light of mercy, not outside its gate. For those who heed the whisper, the storm will pass over. For those who mock it, the silence that follows will be deafening. Prophetic alignment is stirring again. Chosen one. Heaven has set a number in motion, and its vibration is beginning to echo through your life. You may start to see it in strange places, in timestamps, totals, or passing signs that catch your attention without reason. This number is 444, and it carries a message of divine foundation, stability, and spiritual order. When you see it, heaven is whispering, I am establishing you. No, the Spirit does not move randomly. Everything God does follows pattern and precision. Numbers in Scripture have always carried meaning beyond mathematics. They are divine signatures that point to spiritual truths, as was proclaimed in the sacred writings of Isaiah, chapter 28, verse 16. See, I lay a stone in Zion, a tested stone, a precious cornerstone for a sure foundation. The one who relies on it will never be stricken with panic. That cornerstone is Christ himself. And this number, 444, is the prophetic echo of his stability being established in you. The world around you may tremble, systems may fail, and relationships may shift. But the foundation being built under your feet will not crumble. Heaven is not just blessing you, it is anchoring you. You have walked through seasons where everything felt uncertain. Jobs, friendships, emotions, all of it seemed to wobble under the weight of change. But that instability wasn't punishment, it was preparation. God was shaking what was built on sand so that he could rebuild you on stone. The storm revealed what was temporary so that heaven could install what is eternal. Now, as November 15th approaches, you stand in the middle of that rebuilding process. The noise of demolition has quieted. The new foundation is being poured. Heaven is laying structural lines of destiny across your path. This is why so much in your life has felt slow, measured, and precise. The foundation must be perfect before the house can rise. Chosen one. The number 444 is your reminder that God is the architect of your future. You are not building alone. Heaven has drawn blueprints with your name etched on every beam. Every setback you endured was a measurement, every delay, a recalibration. Nothing in your story is wasted because every chapter was written into the design. When you start seeing 444, pause and remember, this is the language of alignment. It's the Spirit saying, stay steady, I am fortifying your faith. It's confirmation that the unseen work beneath the surface is almost complete. Soon the structure of your calling will rise for all to see. But foundations require cooperation. The architect may design the plan, yet the builder must choose to follow it. Heaven provides the materials: truth, patience, prayer, endurance, but you must decide to build with them. Every day you choose discipline over distraction, faith over fear, surrender over stubbornness. Another brick is set in place. The more consistent your obedience, the stronger your structure becomes. This is not the time to abandon the project. The enemy loves to attack during foundation seasons, whispering that progress is too slow or that you've misunderstood the plan. But this is when you must hold firm. What you're building now will outlast storms to come. The walls of your destiny are rising on the unshakable cornerstone of divine promise. Soon, When heaven looks across the earth on November 15th, it will see who has built faithfully. The foundations of the faithful will gleam under heaven's light, steady and unmoved, while those built on self will crack under pressure. You, chosen one, are meant to stand unshaken. If you've been wondering why God has seemed so precise lately, why he's been closing certain paths or adjusting your pace, it's because alignment matters. Heaven doesn't rush construction. It measures twice, builds once. The perfection of your foundation will determine the height of your future. So, as an act of prophetic agreement, comment 440 ve'arba below. Let it be more than numbers. Let it be declaration. It means, Lord, establish me. Build me on truth. Align me with your design. When you type it, you're not engaging in ritual. You're engaging in revelation. You're saying yes to structure. Yes to stability. Yes to heaven's blueprint for your life. And as you do, something begins to settle inside you, a peace that cannot be shaken, a confidence that no storm can destroy. The foundation beneath your feet is finished, and the house of your calling is about to rise. The number 444 is heaven's signature on your surrender. You are no longer building alone, you are being established forever. When the prophetic date passes, chosen one, the world may seem unchanged. The sun will rise, as it always does. The news will continue its endless noise, and life will move forward as though nothing sacred has occurred. But those with awakened spirits will know the shift has happened. November 15th will not thunder with spectacle, it will hum with transformation. It is not a day designed to impress the eye, but to recalibrate the unseen. Heaven rarely moves through noise. When Elijah looked for God, he found him not in the earthquake or the fire, but in the whisper. The same will be true of this moment. The world will mock what it cannot measure, but the faithful will feel the subtle reordering deep within their souls. Something in the spiritual infrastructure will have changed. Your discernment will sharpen. Your peace will deepen. You will move differently, not because of what you see, but because of what has shifted inside you. Every divine date has two realities, the visible and the invisible. The visible captures attention, but the invisible carries authority. The unseen alignment of November 15th will begin to unfold in small but undeniable ways. Conversations that once drained, you will lose power. People tied to your old season will quietly drift. You'll feel drawn to new places, new purposes, and new disciplines without understanding why. These are not coincidences. They're confirmations that the heavenly pivot has begun, as the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 18. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. The shift that follows November 15th will not shout it, will whisper through your days like a gentle undercurrent. At first, you may even doubt it. You'll question whether anything truly changed. But watch closely. Doors that refused to open before will now unlock effortlessly. Relationships that once carried friction will settle into peace or dissolve if they're no longer meant to stay. Patterns you couldn't break before will lose their grip, as if heaven quietly flipped a switch within you. This is what divine timing looks like. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks, but with flow. Where there was resistance, now there will be ease. Where there was confusion, now there will be clarity. Heaven's movement is precise. It adjusts trajectories, not appearances. You may also notice that your prayers feel different. The words may be the same, but the weight behind them will shift. The Spirit will give you phrases you didn't plan, visions you didn't expect. That's because alignment has consequences. It upgrades communication. Heaven draws nearer to those who have prepared. After November 15th, your connection to the divine will carry a new frequency, one tuned to obedience rather than anxiety. Still, not everyone will understand what you sense. Some will laugh. Others will shrug and move on. Don't argue or defend. The work of God does not need applause to be authentic. The silence that follows this date is not absence, it's incubation. Seeds planted in obedience must root before they rise. You'll know the shift has taken hold when what once tempted you now feels tasteless. Old fears will fall away without effort. The anxieties that haunted you will begin to lose their authority. You'll find yourself responding with calm where you once reacted with chaos. This is heaven's evidence that the transformation is real. In the days following November 15th, move slowly. Pay attention to patterns, to peace, to the pull of the Spirit. These small signals will guide you through the aftermath of alignment. The greatest miracles are often wrapped in ordinary moments. The sunrise on November 16th will look the same, but the light will touch you differently. Chosen one. This is how heaven works quietly, decisively, eternally. The absence of noise is not the absence of power. The silence after prophecy is the sound of manifestation taking root. You have stepped into a new timeline, one written long before you were born. Every moment of obedience was a key, every surrender, a doorway. Now those doors are open. You might not feel the full weight of change yet, but you will. Over the next weeks, heaven's adjustments will continue to unfold. Like dawn spreading across the horizon, the darkness won't vanish in an instant. It will retreat gradually as light expands. Be patient. Stay grounded. Let peace confirm what your eyes cannot yet see. November 15th will become the dividing line in your story, the day heaven turned the page. You are not the same person who walked into it. You carry new authority, new sensitivity, and new responsibility. The shift has begun. The winds have changed direction. The earth has whispered your name, and heaven has responded. From here on, you are walking in the unfolding of promise. The rising of the crowned ones has begun. Chosen one. After the quiet turning of November 15th, a different atmosphere surrounds you, one heavy with divine recognition. Heaven has recorded obedience, and now it releases authority. Those who endured the refining fire without complaint will begin to radiate with quiet strength. It will not be the crown of earthly success, but the crown of spiritual weight. You may not feel it immediately, but others will. They'll sense something has changed. Your presence will carry peace into chaos, conviction into confusion, and hope into despair. People will not understand why they feel different around you. But the truth is simple. You've been marked by heaven. When the Father crowns a soul, no man can ignore the glow. This crowning is not for pride, it is for purpose. Heaven does not adorn for decoration, it crowns for assignment. Every trial you've endured was shaping your head to bear the weight of that crown. Some of the pressure you've felt in past seasons was not the enemy attacking it, was heaven fitting you for glory. The crown of calling must rest on a head that has bowed in surrender, according to what is revealed in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. That promise is unfolding now. Heaven's reward is not always gold or applause. It is endurance rewarded with revelation. You will notice that what once drained you now energizes you. Tasks that once felt heavy will flow with ease. Your strength is no longer human, it's divine. You've exchanged striving for grace. There is a subtle majesty in those who have been crowned. They don't shout, they shine. They don't boast, they bless. They walk differently because they've learned that power without humility is poison. The crowned ones carry authority that doesn't demand attention, it draws it naturally. Their words hold weight not because they're loud, but because they're true. You have become one of them. The oil poured through your wilderness has hardened into gold. The tears you shed in silence have become jewels in your crown. Every rejection was a polishing. Every lonely night, a molding. Now the same people who once overlooked you will see a light they can't explain. That's what divine elevation looks like, quiet, unstoppable, undeniable. The rising of the crowned ones will not come with ceremony or spotlight. It will happen in ordinary rooms, during simple conversations, through unseen acts of obedience. Heaven doesn't crown in palaces, it crowns in secret places. You were not called to impress the world. You were called to influence it invisibly, to carry the fragrance of grace wherever you go. Chosen one. This new authority comes with responsibility. The higher you rise, the more careful you must be with your words. A crown amplifies every decision. Speak with wisdom, move with compassion, and lead with gentleness. Your authority is not to control but to heal, not to command but to serve. The greatest among the crowned are those who still kneel before the throne. You may also feel a holy loneliness after elevation. Crowns separate as much as they honor. The path of the chosen narrows further, because not everyone can understand the weight you now carry. Do not mistake isolation for abandonment. It's insulation. Heaven is protecting the oil that rests upon you. Stay humble, stay hidden, and let your actions speak for you. In the coming weeks, you'll recognize others like you, the crowned ones, scattered across nations. There will be a silent recognition between you, a deep knowing that transcends words. When your eyes meet, there will be a spark of divine familiarity. These are your allies in purpose, your brothers and sisters in calling. Together, you form the remnant, the company of light that stands unshaken as the world trembles. The crowns may differ in form. Some are mantles of wisdom, others of healing, creativity, or intercession. But all share one origin: surrender. The world crowns achievement. Heaven crowns obedience. You were chosen not because you were the strongest, but because you were the most willing to bend. Now walk with that awareness. Carry your crown, not as a trophy, but as a trust. The world will test you again, but this time you will not break. You've been refined for rulership, tempered for truth. The same fire that once burned you now shines from you. The rising of the crowned ones is not coming, it has begun. Heaven is placing them strategically in families, workplaces, nations, and digital spaces. The glow of divine authority is spreading quietly, like dawn stretching across the horizon. You, chosen one, are among them. So walk softly, speak wisely, and remember, the true power of a crown is not in how it glitters, but in how it bows. The awakening is no longer isolated. Chosen one, what began as a quiet stirring within individual hearts is now becoming a global wave, a movement of light sweeping across nations. It's as though heaven dropped a single spark into humanity's darkness, and now the fire is spreading from soul to soul. Unseen but unstoppable. This is the global awakening wave, and you are part of it. It doesn't look like revolution, it looks like restoration. It moves not through noise, but through hearts that suddenly remember who they are. Across continents, people are waking from spiritual sleep, feeling a pull to return to purity, to compassion, to truth. Some describe it as déjà vu, others call it peace. But those who understand call it what it truly is, the wind of heaven uniting the chosen. As the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Romans, chapter 13, verse 11, the hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we believed. That is the sound of the awakening. Heaven is shaking the dust off those who forgot their authority. The wave begins small within you, then spreads through conversations, acts of kindness, shared truth, and bold obedience. It's like a single drop rippling outward across still water. One heart transformed becomes 2, then 10, then 1,000. Soon the stillness cannot contain the movement. You may have noticed that more people around you are beginning to ask deeper questions. They are weary of noise and hungry for meaning. They sense that something divine is happening, but can't name it. That's where you come in. The crown you carry is not for decoration, it's a torch. Every word you speak, every post you share, every prayer you whisper adds light to the expanding horizon. This awakening doesn't need platforms, it needs participants. It's not about being famous, it's about being faithful. Heaven's strategy is quiet infiltration. A whisper of hope here, a gesture of love there, a story of transformation told sincerely. These are the seeds that spread the fire faster than any sermon could. Think of yourself as a lantern carried through the night. When you lift your light, others can see just enough to find their way to their own flame. One by one, the world brightens. That is how the awakening wave moves, not through force, but through resonance. Hearts begin to vibrate with the same heavenly frequency, and the darkness loses its grip. Chosen one. You may not realize it, but someone is watching your journey, your endurance, your hope, your quiet faith. They are sermons without words. People notice light, especially when the world feels dim. You don't have to preach to inspire, you simply have to shine. That's why it matters to share. When you like, comment, or subscribe, you're not feeding an algorithm, you're feeding the mission. Every small act of engagement becomes a signal flare in the spiritual realm, letting heaven know that the wave is gaining strength. When you share this message, you're not promoting a voice, you're echoing heaven's heartbeat into corners that light rarely reaches. Think of it like tossing a pebble into an ocean. The ripples seem small at first, but they travel farther than you imagine. Someone scrolling through their midnight loneliness might stumble upon your shared post and feel their heart stir again. They might weep without knowing why. They might pray for the first time in years. And just like that, the wave expands. When you comment below, It's more than digital ink, it's testimony. Write what the Spirit awakens in you. It could be a single word, a sentence, or a story. What you write could be the confirmation someone else is praying for tonight. Heaven moves through connection, and your words might carry the key that unlocks another's courage. So yes, like and share, not for numbers, but for names. Every soul that encounters truth through your small act becomes part of the rising tide. The wave is not about one messenger, it's about a generation remembering its divine origin. This is the age of awakening, and the wave is only growing stronger. Soon, across the world, the chosen will begin to recognize each other not through language or culture, but through light. Their eyes will meet, and something in their spirits will whisper, "I know you. You carry the same fire." And in that recognition, the earth will change, not through conflict, but through compassion, not through might, but through mercy. The world doesn't need louder voices, it needs brighter ones. And your light, chosen one, is already rising with the dawn. The wave has begun, the world is waiting. Lift your flame, share your story, and let the light travel farther than your eyes can see. The kingdom spreads one willing heart at a time, and yours is already burning. The proof of the prophetic always follows, in silence. Chosen one. It is not found in grand displays or instant miracles, but in the quiet unfolding of events that echo what heaven already spoke. After November 15th, signs will begin to align, not as random coincidences, but as confirmations. They will appear subtly at first, like patterns forming beneath the surface of your daily life. To the unaware, they will mean nothing, but to you, who have been awakened, they will mean everything. The shift will reveal itself through alignment. Paths that once crossed in confusion will begin to make sense. Situations that seemed wasted will reveal purpose. Even past pain will find redemption. The threads that once looked tangled will suddenly form a picture so precise, you'll wonder how you ever doubted the design. That's how prophecy proves itself, not through spectacle, but through symmetry. Heaven doesn't rush to prove what it speaks. When God promises, He doesn't defend His timeline, He demonstrates His faithfulness. The proof comes quietly, unfolding in moments that only the discerning can see. It comes in peace that surpasses understanding, in prayers answered in unexpected ways, in doors opening that logic cannot explain. As the prophet Habakkuk wrote in his scroll, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait, for it will surely come. It will not delay." Chosen one. Do not mistake slow growth for stillness. The ground may seem silent, but beneath it, movement is constant. The unseen is where God does His best work. Proof often hides behind patience. Those who demand instant signs usually miss the greater ones forming slowly in secret. Look closely in the coming weeks. You'll start noticing divine fingerprints in unexpected places, the conversation that brings unexpected closure, the message that confirms what you quietly prayed, the timing of an encounter that feels too precise to be coincidence. Heaven is orchestrating these details as validation. Prophecy proves itself not only through what happens, but through what no longer does. You'll sense burdens lifting without effort, cycles of struggle breaking without explanation, Situations that once held you captive will suddenly release you, not because you forced them, but because the spiritual contract behind them has expired. That is proof, too, the invisible shift that frees what was bound. Some confirmations will come through people who don't even know they're being used. A stranger's words, a song lyrique, a passage you happen to read, all carrying phrases that pierce your spirit like arrows of recognition. Heaven speaks fluently in synchronicities. The more aware you become, the louder they sound. But be careful, not every coincidence is confirmation. The difference lies in peace. True proof never stirs anxiety, it settles it. When it's divine, it won't demand, it will affirm. It won't rush you, it will rest you. The Spirit's confirmations don't push, they persuade gently, like light filling a room instead of fire, consuming it. There will also be visible outcomes, changes in your circumstances that align too perfectly to deny. Financial breakthroughs, reconciled relationships, unexpected opportunities, healing in body or mind. These are not random rewards. They are the echo of obedience. What you sowed in faith before November 15th will begin to manifest in form after it. Even the resistance you face will become proof. Darkness always responds. When light expands, new trials may arise, not to destroy you, but to confirm that your advancement is real. Pressure reveals purpose. Opposition verifies movement. The moment you become a threat to hell, it reacts. That, too, is evidence that prophecy is unfolding. Chosen one. Proof is not given to convince the world, it's given to confirm you. Heaven is not trying to impress spectators, it's strengthening servants. The signs will not shout for attention, they will whisper reassurance. They will say, "You heard right. You obeyed right. Keep walking." So walk calmly into the aftermath of fulfillment. Let the world debate what it cannot discern. Let skeptics analyze what you already know in your spirit. The proof is not theirs to see, it is yours to live. And when it happens, when the pieces align, when your peace deepens, when your purpose crystallizes, remember this truth. Prophecy is not about predicting the future, it's about preparing you for it. The promise was never meant to entertain, it was meant to establish. The vision has spoken, the waiting has ended. Proof is rising, steady and sure. You need not search for it, it will find you. Now the record is sealed. Chosen one. Heaven has written what needed to be written. Every moment of surrender, every whispered yes, every tear that fell in prayer, captured, preserved, and secured in eternity's archives. The story is not erased by failure, nor rewritten by fear. It is sealed by grace. What began as a stirring has ended as testimony. November 15th is now more than a date. It is an altar. The seal is not merely symbolic, it is spiritual ownership. When heaven seals something, it declares, "This belongs to me." The trials that once defined you no longer do. They've been folded into your redemption. The scars that once spoke of pain now shimmer as marks of proof. You've passed through fire and silence, through obedience and awakening. And heaven has stamped the end of this chapter with the golden seal of completion. The Apostle writes in the book of Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 13, "And you also were included in Christ when you heard the message of truth, the gospel of your salvation. When you believed, you were marked in him with a seal, the promised Holy Spirit. Chosen one. This sealing is both a closing and a beginning. Heaven does not seal what it intends to hide. It seals what it intends to preserve. This record of your obedience, your awakening, your endurance, these are not forgotten pages. They are the foundation for the next volume of your calling. The same hand that wrote your survival will now write your significance. In the coming days, you may feel an odd mixture of peace and anticipation. That's the rhythm of completion. You've reached the end of a spiritual assignment, but heaven is already sketching the outlines of the next. The old you has fulfilled its purpose. The crowned you now steps forward. The difference is subtle yet eternal. You no longer chase signs, you carry them. You no longer seek confirmation, you are the confirmation. The sealing also means separation. Heaven draws lines not to divide for cruelty, but to define for clarity. Some connections will dissolve naturally. Don't resist it. When a chapter ends, the characters that don't belong in the next will fade gently out of view. Let them. The silence that follows isn't loss, it's transition. You cannot move into new authority while clutching yesterday's alliances. You will notice, too, that certain desires will fade away. The cravings for recognition, the need for validation, the impatience for proof, all of it will fall silent. What once occupied your thoughts will no longer carry weight. This is what sealing feels like. The soul anchored, the heart content, the mind clear. You are no longer searching for where you belong. You've been claimed by the one who wrote your name in fire before time began. The days ahead will unfold with quiet certainty. You will make decisions without doubt. Speak with confidence that surprises even you, and walk through chaos untouched by confusion. This isn't arrogance, it's awareness. The sealed soul knows its source. You've learned that purpose isn't found in striving, it's discovered in surrender. And now, heaven turns the page. The old assignments dissolve into memory, the lessons remain, but the weight lifts. You've been prepared to carry not the burdens of intercession only, but the blueprints of restoration. Wherever you walk, order will follow. Wherever you speak, clarity will come. The atmosphere around you will bend to the authority you've gained through obedience. Chosen one. This is the quiet reward of those who endure the peace that follows prophecy, the clarity that follows chaos. You no longer stand in waiting, you stand in witness. Everything that was promised has been initiated. The heavenly attendance has been taken, the separation completed, the crowns distributed, the foundations established. What remains now is the living of what was spoken. When you look back one day, November 15th will not merely be a memory, it will be a monument. You'll see how heaven wove each thread, how mercy warned, how obedience aligned, how patience prepared. You'll smile at the perfection of the process, realizing that nothing was wasted. Every delay had purpose, every silence hid strategy. And as the seal closes on this prophetic chapter, one truth remains: destiny does not end, it evolves. The seal doesn't silence it, safeguards. The words heaven has written over you will not fade. The scroll may be sealed, but the story continues, written now, not with ink or fire, but with your life. You are the continuation of the prophecy. You are the living record of fulfillment. And heaven, having sealed your name, now watches proudly as you carry its light into the world. Chosen one. Breathe for a moment. You have walked through revelation, warning, mercy, and awakening. And now you stand at the threshold of fulfillment. The words you've read were never just sentences. They were signals, guiding you through the fog toward divine clarity. What began as prophecy has now become personal. The heavens have spoken, and your spirit has answered. But this message is not meant to end here, like a flame that spreads when shared. Its purpose multiplies only when it moves. So if these words have touched something deep within you, if they reminded you that you are seen, chosen, and called, then let that recognition become action. Like this message, not for numbers, but as a quiet amen to heaven's whisper. Each like is a heartbeat saying, I receive it. I then share this message. Somewhere tonight, someone is standing on the edge of surrender, begging for a sign. Your single act of sharing could be the miracle that finds them in the dark. When you share truth, you partner with heaven's mission to awaken the forgotten. And finally, comment below what stirred inside you. Write it as a testimony, a declaration, or even a single word that captures how this journey moved you. Your voice will echo beyond this page. Heaven listens when the chosen speak. Stay close. Subscribe to remain within this current of light, where future messages flow like living water. You are part of something greater now, a gathering of souls being refined for purpose. The story continues through you, through every word you carry, every life you touch. So go, chosen one. Carry the flame forward, speak light into shadows, and let the world feel, through your life, the living proof that prophecy was fulfilled.